First, I want to say, hello.
Are you not in the shot?
Now, that was just so I could mic it all up.
This is my mic. My people listen to my mic. You can't come into my mic.
No. I was just so I could sync it up in post-production.
Post-production.
Anyways.
All right, this is podcast day one.
Podcast day one.
From the CJJ page.
CJJ podcast day one.
Now, I can just dive into that. I can go all day on that.
Yeah, what you got to say, man?
Nightmare. No, I'm kidding.
All right.
Okay. Hold on.
That's got water in my eyeball.
So, what do you say? What are we gonna say that the world out there cares about? You think?
Do I sit like this? How do I sit?
You just gotta sit down.
All right. What's up, guys? Welcome to the first ever CJJ podcast.
You looking at the camera?
Well, I was just welcoming all our people, well, both of them.
Nice.
We haven't really decided on a name yet.
Nope.
So
that is up for interpretation.
Yeah.
Whoever wants to hone in on that, all the trolls, whoever.
Feel
please.
free to give us some suggestions.
Feel free.
We had a couple we were spitting around with constant jabroni jargon.
That was one.
CJJ, following the CJJ trend. We also got off the wagon. Shout out to our guy, Casey Weathers.
Off the wagon. That is potential. We got down the dingle.
Down the dingle, as coined by my man Steve here.
Yeah, that's got a whole story to it.
Could be a great name, but let us know what you guys think. So
let me give a little story here. This was proposed to me by Lucas. So you come to me yesterday, and you say, "Hey man, we need to start a podcast." And I'm thinking to myself, why? For who? And so I'm thinking nobody wants to listen to us. Then you remind me of the baseball page we have, Crying Jordan Jabronis.
Crying Jordan Jabronis.
Which you started, I'd say 4 years ago now?
Yeah, so let's just dive into this. So Crying Jordan Jabronis, probably our only listeners right now, if we have any, probably follow us on CJJ, Crying Jordan Jabronis.
Right.
It started when we went to Driveline the first time.
2015 summer.
2016? 2015?
2016
2016. May 2016.
Summer. You're right.
I tore my quad, came home. You just finished your redshirt year.
Yep.
We went up middle of May for a month.
Where were you at when you tore your quad?
So at Willamette.
You're at Willamette.
Up in Oregon, and I can get into that in a little bit. But we went to Driveline. We had been doing the program at home for about 6 months or so, maybe a little more.
Yeah. Out in my mom's garage and
your mom's garage. You had the plyo balls and all this stuff. I think was Tyke Green? No.
Mike
Rothwell.
Mike Rothwell was one of my original.
Your OG
trainers.
Remotely. Remote trainer. Yeah. So he was doing the remote program. Had Mike Rothwell, Tyke Green. I think you had Matt Daniels for a little bit.
Yeah.
Cam Castro.
Eventually transitioned to Cam. Yeah.
Slew of the OG Driveline guys.
Right.
And I actually bought the Team Capo Flama DGAF. Shout out Flama.
Right. Flama was in the mix. You were part of Team Capo.
I was Team Capo. And so did the remote program with that.
Right.
And through that, he threw me in a group chat with Bodie, Kyle Bodie, who started Driveline.
Right.
And he's the OG.
Kyle.
And
OG for sure.
Through that, we just kind of got programming. We were doing it here for 6 months or so. And then we decided we actually had to go up there. Check it out. Great, phenomenal trip.
And we drove.
So we're in Sacramento, California.
What the hell were we thinking?
And we drove to Seattle. We were actually staying in Everett that month.
We did. We stayed in Everett, about an hour away from the facility though.
Yeah. My old teammate Jacob Parr, shout out Jacob, let us stay with him. Awesome guy. And so we're about an hour from the facility. It was about a 13-hour drive.
I listened to about 63 Mike Stud songs on repeat.
It was a slow day.
No, I'm kidding. But yes.
But yeah, it was a great trip up there at Driveline. And one thing that I noticed got out of it, besides just all the training and amazingness of Driveline itself, was I saw all these guys kind of started pitching pages.
Right. I remember this.
It was one of those things that you kind of hear about, and the initial reaction is kind of like, oh, why would I do that? Like a pitching page is kind of weird. But the more I thought about it, the more I just kind of realized that there was a ton of benefits and not really a lot of negatives, besides maybe people chirping you or people thinking you're weird, which I don't really care about anyway. So,
which was not the case for me at the time.
Yeah, I brought the idea to Steven that we should start a pitching page, and he weren't really on board at first.
No, I was so aggro against the idea of all these pitching pages that were coming out because I cared so much. I cared more about, I think, what people thought, in the sense that I was like, no one should know what you're doing when you're training, and it's all to yourself, and this whole, macho man complex around keep your training hidden, let your results speak for themselves. But actually, so it's funny because I was so aggro against all these pages that were coming out, but I found myself going to these pages to learn. Yeah. So I was going to these pages, and I was like, hold on, these are the pages that I hated when Lucas said this, and I was so embarrassed about. But these are the pages that I'm learning the most from. Like, Tanner Reclatus had one, and his began to get traction. He was producing good content. And they would help me, and I was like, wow. I'm like, so then my ideas started to switch around from these pages where it was like, okay, we can do this where maybe we're helping people. So how can we go out and use this page to give our knowledge and go out to people and be like, hey man, that we are kind of funny, we might have a more lax approach to this, but we can go out and we can help, even if we help 2, 3, 10, whatever it is, people. And like it did for me, it's going to change everything, which was cool about it.
Yeah, and so we kind of started it as a combination of joke and seriousness. And
totally.
As you've been following our page a little bit, you can kind of see that.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of slowly gained a following. And my kind of thought process was, if I'm going to be training anyway, and I'm going to be taking videos just to go back and help myself, like my mechanics, all that, why not just throw them up? It's not going to be anything out of my way. And if ESPN.
Did Jason Giambi just get traded to the Kings?
Jason Giambi. Shout out Mike Francesa. Anyways, Zach Wheeler and the Phillies agreed a 5-year deal. Interesting. Anyway, back to CJJ. I thought, one, we could start building a relationship with these other guys online, free content, help our own knowledge. 2, keep ourselves accountable, because if we're not posting, maybe we're not training.
We were always training.
Always kidding. I posted a video pretty early on of myself deadlifting in shoes.
Right.
And I kind of I wasn't really coming up on my toes, but I wasn't fully on my heels. And I forget who it was, someone commented and was like, try going no shoes. So I was like, all right. So I went next time I deadlifted, went no shoes, and I loved it. And to this day, I deadlift no shoes. So that's one small little tip that I got from this free account that we started that has benefited me and has impacted my lifting, which I do 3 to 4 times a week. So it's something I've been able to take from just starting this random joke pitching page, Klein Jordan Jabronis.
And it turned around and helped you in your career and progressing you to that point where you wanted to be. I mean, honestly, it's pretty crazy because not only did that happen, I mean, talk about the following where it's at now. I mean, it's pretty crazy where it went. Yeah. Because it was a complete kind of joke, and I took it not even close seriously at the time, and if you look at it now, there's some serious, buzz around it sometimes. It's pretty crazy. Not serious, but I mean,
it's caught a little wave,
It's caught a little wave for sure. It's pretty crazy.
It's been cool too. I've been through my connection with Kyle and Driveline, just being in the baseball world and meeting some pretty cool, influential people. Right. I found a couple cool tips here that helped me in my career that even though I didn't make it to the big leagues and I didn't kind of pan out to be the baseball player I wanted to be, I'm able to kind of post on CJ and help other guys that maybe they're struggling with the same thing or kind of a common problem with plyo balls or pain or whatever it is.
Oh, totally.
So that's been awesome. For as far as CJJ now, we're both done with our college career.
Yeah.
You're still kind of trying to play. Possibly we can get into that.
See where it goes.
But
that is.
We're not playing baseball, so we're not going to be posting as far as like, we're in a game or whatever it is. But we still lift. We work in a baseball facility, awesome athletes, and we're around the game, we're around the training, we're around the Driveline program a lot, and we're still going to be posting stuff that can still benefit the player today.
Oh yeah, it's daily for us now. We can get as much content as we need on the sense of player development because we're around it. And, we're still learning. I mean, I find myself being around Casey Weathers and Ryan Matthews, 2 guys that have excelled in this game at a high level, And Casey, with the experience he has not only in pro ball but with Driveline itself, and he was somebody we all kind of looked up to at the beginning because he was there, in my eyes, some sort of poster child for them, and he was local to Northern California, which was crazy. And then you got Ryan, who I remember seeing on TV and coming to Sacramento City College when I was there as a freshman, giving us speeches, and now they're basically 2 of our mentors. So we have a huge ability to learn every day, and I think if we can implement that to a point for our own athletes in gym, but for you guys that follow us, I mean, there's nothing but benefit for both them and us. We can teach guys, we can, get, knowledge ourselves. So it's pretty incredible what the doors it's opened up is pretty crazy for us, I'd say. It's pretty wild.
It has been a wild ride. If you would have told us, 3 or 4 years ago, where would we be at now?
Oh, I'd be like, Casey, Ryan I would have told you, if you would have told me the CJJ page would have been, people know who it is, like Ryan and Casey or, all these people, I'd be like, you're nuts if you think this page is going to get seen by anybody.
Well, one of the crazy things for me was if you guys follow our page, have seen we used to just train after training at Steve's garage was always at McKinley Park. This park, 5 minutes from our house. Oh, yeah. Steve was running by one day and saw they had a tennis wall that we could throw the plyo balls into.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we started going there all the time. And the two things actually happened with that. Like, we kind of became associated with that to the point where people started hitting us up. A couple people in Sacramento that we didn't know, this followed our page, found it through Driveline or whatever, started hitting us up, DMing us, hey, can we come out and throw with you guys? Yeah. And there was a couple times out there, and again, at the beginning, it was just me and you, just us two out there training.
Us out there,
And there was a couple
pissing off tennis players.
Oh, tennis players hated us. But they thought we were going to break the wall. Clearly, they don't know we throw 80 poo. But anyways, there's a couple times out there we had 8 to 10 guys come out and throw with us.
Oh, easily. And 2 girls.
A couple girls. We had a couple girls.
Emily Ferrante and Kenzie.
Emily Ferrante and Kenzie Vanasek.
But that's the thing about CJJ. It's not all serious. It became, and it was fun.
We had fun. And that's also another thing that I think helped, or people need to be reminded of, is there's this buzz about, you need to work hard. And obviously that's true, but you got to be able to have fun with it sometimes and be able to just enjoy training. If you don't, if it truly is a grind day in, day out and you don't like it, then you're just going to get burnt out and you're going to hate it.
Miserable, and if, do the mundane things and do them daily, get your work done, but you're allowed to go have fun in that and have a good time with your friends, in the gym, make jokes, and there's a time and place for it. We all know that. And maybe not all of us, but people out there, there's a time and place to joke around, spend, your 4 hours in the gym and then, an hour recover, fuck around a little bit. Who knows? It's just, it's how it is. You got to keep that level. You got to keep that balance, because otherwise, it's just anything. You're gonna be miserable. You can't keep that kind of complex I talked about earlier. That big, complex of just I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And it's just over time that becomes a worry on you. It's tough.
Yeah.
Keep a smile, man.
That's kind of how CJJ came to be.
Oh yeah.
We're still keeping it fun, keeping it light, but also providing some info and taking it serious at times. Yeah. And now, just a little bit about ourselves. Yeah. We've kind of dove into it a little bit already, but my playing career, played in high school, went to the D3 Willamette up in Oregon for a year and a half, had a solid freshman year, and then my sophomore year I tried a two-way and actually hit decently in the fall, and right before the season started I tore my quad in an inner squad.
Trying to hit.
Actually running to first base.
You did hit it.
I hit the ball, not well.
The ball was hit, you began to run.
The ball was hit, I started to run. I had pitched earlier that day, sat down for a while, the chart, came back. Yeah. It was 40-degree Oregon weather. But tore my quad, played through it for 3 weeks, pitched on it. And my dad made me go get it checked out by urgent care. Told me I had a grade 3 complete rupture of my rectus femoris, which is the top muscle of the quad.
What in God's green earth is a rectus femoris?
That's what I said.
You literally have a hole in your leg
to this day, still have a hole in my leg.
We won't show it on camera, but
we don't want to scare off the viewers.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Also many of them,
yeah. But I came home. I withdrew mid-semester and got it drained because it bled internally, and I had to rehab it for a couple months, and got that year back because I had a medical red shirt. Played at a junior college here in Sacramento, Cosumnes River, with this guy for a year. And then from there found Westmont through Driveline, actually, and Rob Hill and different guys I met up there. Right. Drove down for bullpen, threw for them. Ended up going there for my last 2 years.
Well, you PR'd in that pen, didn't you?
PR'd in that pen, hit 91.
91. That's pretty crazy. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, blew up my tricep tendon that summer training, and my arm's kind of really the same. Kind of still bothers me to this day. Ended up trying to hit again my senior year. Hit decently senior year. Didn't get a ton of ABs, but 20 or so ABs.
You put a few out. What, didn't your coach say you put a few out in BP?
I put one out during the season.
Well, in the season too.
Yeah, a couple out in fall. I was a good 5 o'clock hitter, a bunch of BP, but
that's awesome.
A couple things bounced my way. Could have been.
It was fun. Right? That's the way to go.
Yeah, it was fun. Westmont was awesome. Just two really great coaches. Who, by the way, my pitching coach Tony Kagul just got a job with the Cubs as a minor league.
That's right. That's pretty solid.
Yeah,
that's sweet.
and then Coach Ruiz, head coach there, one of the best humans I ever met. So that's kind of a quick overview of my playing career. Again, we both now work at OA, Optimum Athletes, loving it. I don't think you really don't know too much more about me, but you can kind of dive into your playing career.
Jeez, what on earth do people want to know about my playing career? Let me think. Well, where'd we start at? Where'd we start out? T-ball? No, I'm kidding. Okay, we won't go T-ball, but
East Sac T-ball. We played together.
We did play together. No, at Christian Brothers High School, I'll start there. From that point on, it's pretty crazy. I found success in high school at a pretty high level. I thought baseball was pretty A, B to C type deals, or like A to Z, straight line. Because we both trained the same place. We trained at Facility Capital Pro. And that was about the extent of my off season, was just working out. And I thought that was busting my ass. I thought that was hard work, which it was. We put in the work, with Jeff Bohaglis, so shout out to him. One of my
Bohaglis, motherfucker.
Our original mentors here was a guy that we just trained with year round. So, at that point, senior year rolls around, I'm doing well, you're doing well, I have all the success, but, I don't go to things like showcases, or I email a bunch of coaches, but I don't have a couple things on the table that would have given me the path where I wanted to be at. I wanted to be this D1 athlete. I might have had the numbers for it, but didn't go the right way, because of things I was doing that were different than what my goals wanted. So at the time I didn't connect the two because I was just so young, and I didn't have my values right. But then I went to junior college where I found Sac City, and I figured, okay, they want me, I have a decent relationship with these guys. I'm going to go 1 year and out. Like, I'm going to be all right. Like, I'm going to pitch well. I'm putting the work. That did not happen. I got punched in the mouth in JUCO.
Do things ever go to plan?
No, never. So I get dominated in junior college. I get absolutely I get punched in the face. Who's here? Mailman?
Probably.
Anyway.
Want to be on a podcast?
Yeah. I get punched in the mouth in JUCO. I have like a 7 ERA and 22 innings. They wanted me to come in and be the third starter. They gave me all the chances I needed. Horrible year overall for the program. We have all this talent. We don't do well. So all these things happen. I end up leaving the school, which might have been not the best idea at the time anyway, because I was just going off emotions. I was doing what I always did. And that's when I had to start developing the sense of like, okay, self-accountability. Maybe it's your fault type of deal. Like, maybe it's you that's doing this wrong. That's when my playing career kind of changed. I ended up transferring JUCOs. After JUCO at CRC, when you came, we played together. I ended up being there for 3 years. I was in junior college for 3 years. Once at Sacramento City College, 2 years at CRC. In that time, I had found Driveline after Sac City, which was nice because I ended up, finding Kyle, and I hit them up, and they were super cool about it. And I was like, I just want to put myself to the test, and let's work just me and the wall. That's what I found was so cool. It's like, I'm going to challenge myself every day, and it's just me. There's no excuse. I have to do it or I don't do it, and I'll be exposed if I don't do it right, because they know.
And we're both, just living testimonials of Driveline. We both topped, I'm guessing, 82, 83, 84, somewhere in there.
Somewhere in the low 80s.
I don't think I ever hit 85. I think I would sit 79 to 81 probably.
Yeah.
And
then boom, we
pens where we were sitting upper 80s.
Upper 80s, and we had this arm health, and this Driveline baseball benefited us greatly, and I loved it, every last bit of it. I loved training there.
And you came back and had a really successful year at CRC.
Yeah, I had a great year. I was still in upper 8s at one point, and then things happened. Coaches, we all kind of dueled it out a little bit. New training methodologies. It was tough because I felt like the guy that was coming in. You felt like the guy that was coming in. And we had all this new knowledge, and we're 20-year-olds, and it's kind of weird for coaches to hear like, "Hey, man, I think I have the confidence to do these things, and I have the ability to explain to you why, but you don't like that because I'm 20." Which I understand. It's baseball.
Challenge the way they've done things.
It's challenging, and then.
Go to line drive.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to find Jake McKinley on a phone. I didn't find him. He called me on a phone call, and he goes, "Hey man, my name's Jake. I'm going to a school called William Jessup," and I was like, "What on God's green earth is William Jessup?" type thing, And he's saying, "Hey man, we're gonna be good," and he's like, "You can do your stuff. I've done it myself. I want you to do what you need to do to be the best pitcher possible." He sends me a video from Crying Joel and Jabronis, the page.
Comes
me
full circle.
Going 89 in the bullpen, and he's like, "Let's get back here. Let's do this."
Yep.
Long story short, go to Jessup. Loved it. I had a bit of a tough relationship with baseball at one point. I had to walk away from the game. Myself, I had an internal battle going on. But once I got past that, Jake welcomed me back with open arms. And that whole community and William Jessup was different than I ever experienced before. The people, he recruited good people, both on the coaching side and the pitching side, or the player side. Loved every last bit of that. And then he ended up leaving to go be the pitching coordinator for the Milwaukee Brewers. Which is casual. Pretty crazy. Yeah. Just casual. He ended up
out of William Jessup University from Lincoln, California.
NAIA school that just won their first championship ever.
What was
their first winning season?
They had 4 or 5 seasons before that, total of 11 or 12 wins. They were just god awful.
Total right? In all those years.
Yeah.
I mean, they were not a good program. No offense out there, but they were not a good program in the sense that they didn't win.
They were the bottom feeders of the GSAC.
They were the bottom feeders of a pretty good conference.
Yeah. Well, Jake did the same thing at Menlo.
And Jake did the same thing.
I don't know a ton of Menlo's history, but I know that him and Jason Ochart, who now works for the Phillies.
And Jason,
Phillies, right?
Jason's now the Phillies driveline guy.
Started basically ran the hitting section at driveline. I think he still does. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But they went to Menlo, and I hadn't really heard of Menlo. I don't know how much success they had, but turned Menlo into this school that led the nation in home runs. And this small little school in Palo Alto that no one ever heard of. Now they're turning out Lucas Ursig and Max Dudo and all these guys that are getting drafted. And I think Ursig's in AAA right now, maybe.
I think he's one of their top prospects.
All these guys that were guys that couldn't get the D1 scholarship out of
right. And that was school. What's crazy about that. That was my main focus coming out of high school. And a lot of people, it's all I wanted to play D1 because I had this huge ego problem I didn't know about. I was so attached to this result, and I had this attachment problem where I was like, why would I go D2? I deserve this. I didn't know I was doing it. I didn't know that.
I think,
and I didn't
could be wrong, but I think your senior year, I think you went 10-1 with a sub-1 ERA.
Yeah. And I was like...
Yeah, it's high school, and you're throwing probably 82, but still, those numbers, you'd be I'm going D1.
I figured, I'll go D1. And it made me feel like I deserved something that, not that I didn't deserve anything, but there was no reason for somebody to be like, oh, here, just take this.
Yeah.
You might do well sometimes. You might put in all this work, and you might do really well, but guess what? Sometimes you don't get acknowledged for it. That's just part of the deal. Yeah. You can't be so attached to this result that you don't let the process take over for you. And that's when I started having problems. Was in my first year in JUCO, I started trying to skip the process. I was like, okay, it's not my fault. Okay, it's not my fault. I want to go there so bad that I didn't appreciate the time. And that's what Driveline did for me.
Yeah. And there's also, we're talking about this a lot with our guys in our facility now, is there's this glamour and shine to the D1 label.
Oh, yeah.
That we can get into this for a long time. We talk a lot about this, but we had a lot of friends in high school that we were probably better than, or not better than, but we could compete with and were similar skill sets or similar success on the field that went D1 that we didn't, and we didn't go D1, and we kind of look at that as oh, we failed or we should have been there or whatnot. And so even us and a lot of other guys had the same mindset, hey, D1 or die. I gotta go D1.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing. I actually said that a few times, I believe, with my buddy Cameron Coip.
Cameron Coip, D1 or die. And he actually went D1. He went to San Jose. So
he did.
Cameron made that happen.
Good ball player.
But there's no, it's crazy. There's no set level of hey, if you're this good, you get to go D1. If you're this good, you get to go D2. And there's programs that are good at D1, and there's programs that are bad at D1. There's programs that are good at NAI and bad at NAI, D3, and all this.
D3, D2, whatever it is.
And the thing that I kind of, or not, again, I don't want to say blanket statements, but some D1s are really good because they get really good players.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the coaches might not be the best, and they might not know how to develop.
Right.
They might get a guy out of high school that throws 93 with a good curveball, and he might leave throwing 93 with a good curveball. Or maybe he's throwing 91 because they overused him.
And I get 8 of those guys.
Yeah, 8 of those guys.
A whole staff for 4 years, but
But when you look at a D3 or D2 or NAI, or maybe even some D1s that might not be the best, but they are forced to hey, how can we get that edge? How can we get better? Because we're getting the guys that are not the 92, but the 86 to 88 guy. How can we develop them?
High potential guys.
And with Westmont, they fully bought into the Driveline program using Rapsodo, Blast Motion, all this data stuff.
There's
and
the video, the project video.
Yeah,
which is cool.
I think Rob put that together, the Westmont project.
Super sick.
So it's almost
super sick. It's awesome to see because you're like, holy snap, who are these guys at a small Christian college in Santa Barbara absolutely getting after it and then going on the mound and blowing noise? Dude, and you're like, okay, I could go to freaking Cal or Ole Miss and sit on the bench. But what if I went to Westmont and put myself in this environment where everyone wanted to get better and everyone wanted to excel at the level I do? What would that do for you?
Yeah.
Where would you be with that competition? What would you do? How would you see yourself? If you threw yourself in that environment like you did, I mean, it only betters you. You're around good people that want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't do much wrong there.
And
pretty sweet.
Once again, we're not saying all D1s suck. Like, obviously,
no, not at all.
There's a ton. Like Arizona now with Yeski is killing the training game and the development, and that's probably, if you could go to Arizona, go to Arizona.
Oh yeah, totally. Like D1s are, of course, we're saying D1's fantastic.
Right.
Like,
but you kind of got to look at kind of like what you value. If you go into if a school likes you, some D1s really overcommit or over recruit, and they get a ton of commits, and then you're not going to play. Or maybe you're good enough to make a D1 roster, but you're going to be the 35th guy on a 35-man roster, and you're not going to play. Right. And you're not going to be able to develop. You might get redshirted and all this stuff. But you get the backpack, you get the Instagram post that says you went D1, you get to be
the recruiting trip.
Yeah, all that stuff. Like, that's awesome, cool. But obviously, that's cool. That's cool stuff.
It's sick.
But then, like, if you go there for 4 years and you're not doing the stuff that you think is going to make you better, whether it's driveline or whatever it is, top velocity, I don't care, whatever it is that you think is going to make you better, if they're not doing that stuff day in and day out of practice, and then you got an NAIA school where you're not going to be on the news, you're not going to be playing on ESPN, you're not going to be playing in Omaha. You
probably won't have that many fans.
You're going to have 30 people at your games, maybe.
Yeah, and your mom and the parents are going to be those people.
You're an 86 guy and you go there, and for 4 years you can train the way you want to, and also you look up senior year and you're blowing 95. Mm-hmm. And nowadays there's this thing called the internet, and you got computers and you got cameras, and one video of you throwing 95 and you post it, and one scout likes you, and then you make it to the minor leagues, or you get drafted and you're in the minor leagues. Otherwise, over here you went to, North Dakota State or whatever it is, D1.
Big D1 school.
You went in at 86 and you came out at 86 and you didn't play, and now your baseball career's over. Yeah. So,
and you have to kind of catch up on the later end.
Right.
And it's not to slander D1s at all. D1's sick. It's great. You're around some good coaches, but if your first few months there, like you're saying, your first year there, if you're not seeing like, hey, I don't know if I'm getting better here. It's hard. It's an ego check thing. And if you are, great. And if you're not, the smaller schools aren't a bad option if you do your research. It's
don't
baseball.
Make your college choice based on the title of D1 or D2.
Off everybody else. Everybody knows how it is, but make your college decision. I think an important thing would be off what they're actually doing, what they can show you as far as players go. Like, where do you want to be? How can I get there? Does that fill that gap? Yep. Does that execute on that? So that's a good piece of it.
Well, that was a good little transition, but let's see what other things you want to cover. Just quickly, what resources have helped us? I think we've talked about it a lot already. But
we've been on
a ton of Instagram, Twitter pages, Tread Athletics, Driveline.
Oh yeah, Tread and Ben are great.
Tanner Clayus when he had his pitching page.
Was a good one. There's a couple out there.
When David Manisek, DM pitching.
Manisek's page.
I freaking had a FaceTime call with Tanner. I texted Manisek. Those guys helped my pull downs. I had a whole conversation with Manisek about pull downs, and I think my best was like 91 within like 2 weeks after doing some stuff he talked about. And I think finding some more in 10, I was up to 97.
Yeah, right.
And I'd been 91 for like 2 years. So it was crazy. Tanner talked multiple FaceTime calls for hours. There's a ton of resources that you can bond with. Again, it's a free resource. You get an Instagram, on Twitter, YouTube, Shotful, YouTube University.
Just ask questions. People, I feel like people get so wary of asking questions. People don't care. And what's the worst they're going to say?
No.
Like, no, fuck you?
Yeah.
All right, sorry, dude.
So,
like, just ask the question you want to ask. I'm sure people like to help people that want to learn.
Yeah.
If you seek knowledge, go get it. Don't wait. I mean, you could. Why not?
So dive into Twitter, dive into Instagram. We can get more on this in a later podcast. I want to make
this is our first episode, so we're just kind of spitballing.
First episode. Not really sure how this is going, but don't want to drag this on too long. But just so you guys kind of know, this podcast is we want to bring you guys in on it and help us mold this into whatever you guys want. We kind of brainstorm different topics: baseball, transitioning out of baseball, our mentality,
just anything,
different training techniques or cues or philosophies when you go into how do you break through barriers, all that stuff.
Interviews where we can learn from you guys. Maybe we can get somebody on here
get you guys calling in.
That we got questions. Or,
come hop on the show.
Yeah, or you got something that we do that maybe you can offer on. I mean, it's a whole free biz. We just like the idea of how can we use what we learned in baseball to help us in life, and vice versa. Anything we see outside of the baseball world, how can we implement that into our guys at OA specifically, but you guys, out there.
And then with us working at Awesome Athletes, we have connections and have training a lot of guys that we'll probably bring on, have a lot of guests on the show.
Yeah, we will have some guests.
Great athletes. First of all, very talented, hard workers. Yeah, we'll have great stories to tell. Might be some decently big names, but we'll see.
I'm getting a butt cramp. We gotta end that. My left butt cheek's cramping.
But yeah, let us know what you guys want. Let us know any topics you guys have.
Oh, it's cramping.
You bristle today?
I did not bristle today.
Got tight hips. But we can get all of that onto future podcasts.
Yeah, we're just trying this out, so we'll see how the response is. I'm sure it'll be a lot of goofiness out there from people we know, and also maybe some seriousness. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Oh yeah.
But cool.
We love it. You gotta love it.
Just Mike's sword.
You gotta love it, Stevie.
All right, let's get it.
You ready?
Yeah,
That about does it. So
that does it.
first podcast, Crying Jordan Jabronis. We out.
We out.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Tune in next week or next month. We're not really sure how long it's gonna take.
Or tomorrow. I don't know.
See you guys.